So there's nothing like feeling OP right from the get-go. That's why in today's Ghost of Yotei video, I'm going to show you how to get the absolute best start. Getting one of the strongest armor sets right away, a full set of charms, and one of the best mythical abilities right from the first starting hours that literally mop the floor with any type of enemy. Now, right from the get-go, once the prologue is done and you got back to your homestead for the first time, I recommend lingering around and just checking out Atsu's past. You're going to find out quite a few goodies, including a secret stash of extra money. Also, you're going to get a cosmetic from the rooftop, as well as a bamboo strike. However, one thing to check out in particular is this discussion that you had as a child with your parents overlooking Mount Yotei, because this is going to actually reveal that there's a set of really strong items awaiting you at a shrine in the area. It's pretty much going to start right here on the side of the map, but we're going to go on a few other things in the meantime as well, so keep that location in mind. In the meantime, there are a couple of spots we're going to hit up really quickly, one of which is going to be this Altar of Reflection by the River Junction. This is going to give us access to one of our first ability points, which you're going to want to go right away and invest into the perfect parry. It's by far one of the most useful early abilities, and it's a godsend, especially in one-on-one duels. Plus, it's going to apply to every single type of weapon you're going to unlock from this point on. Next, we're going to hit up the Old Stables side tail. You're going to pretty much follow a quick story here, at the end of which you're going to get the option to choose between multiple types of horses. However, they pretty much function exactly the same. The only thing that differs is the color, so just pick whichever you like most, but keep in mind that this choice is permanent from this point on. You can then name it, and you're even going to get some extra goodies for it, and from this point on, you're ready to go. And right about now is when we can get a very strong armor set for absolutely free, just a little bit up north from the area we've just been into. So if you pay attention to this location where I am right now, you should spot Taro's camp as you get close to it. There's going to be a bunch of NPCs pestering him, but after sitting at the camp for a little while, he is going to give you that Taro's armor without actually paying anything for it. And this is actually pretty strong early on. You are going to get some extra spirits whenever you have some extra cooking bonuses. You're also going to see your maximum health increasing, and you get fire and cold damage resistance, which is actually going to be very useful for some of the fights ahead. And this is also going to be an NPC that opens up its shop for you, so now you can go ahead and buy a whole bunch of these charms from him. Now, there are multiple of them. However, the ones that I recommend are the Charm of Furious Attacks. This is going to make dual katanas Tempest Strike to deal a minor amount of extra damage, so you can actually buff that up even more by upgrading it. I also recommend going with Charm of Confident Strikes. This is going to give you a chance to gain a whole spirit circle when staggering an enemy with a katana, which is something you're going to be doing very often. Also, quick heads up, if you enjoyed the video so far, a like and a sub to the channel would help a ton. While you're at it, you can also grab the Charm of Healing. This is going to make your healing technique a lot more potent, especially below half HP. But really, if you have the funds at this stage, I recommend just getting all of the charms. That is because collecting more charms is the main way to unlock additional charm slots, but eventually also promote them to major charm slots, which means you can now slot any type of charm in them, letting you pretty much go with a lot more build diversity from this point on, a lot more mixing and matching without having to worry they only go into one single type of slot. Now, around this time is when you're going to hit up the Yotei Shadow Inn for one of the main story missions. However, the moment you're done with the encounter over there, I highly recommend you interact with the bounty board outside right away, and specifically grab this bounty called KhrazeGaming, as this is going to give us a very strong ability in just a little bit. Specifically for this, we're going to need to head over to the Jade Grove, and it's actually going to be really quick, as we're actually going to just have a brief encounter, a bunch of enemies to defeat, and eventually the full-on duel, during which he's going to use the same ability you're going to eventually unlock once you defeat them, called Mitsubushi, but I'm just gonna call it Pocket Sand. So as you can imagine, this is amazing against literally any type of enemy. It even works in one-on-one duels. You can actually use it against them, and even if you don't have the appropriate weapon against the current type of enemy weapon, you can throw the pocket sand. This is going to blind them and lets them completely open to all sorts of incoming damage. Also, don't leave until you actually activate the shrine in the area. This is going to give you your second skill point, which I recommend investing right away into the dodge roll. But dodge roll is a bit more useful at this stage. You can also roll away from red attacks, also extinguish fire with it. Plus, you can muffle some of the sound as you can use it to get closer to enemies a little bit quicker. You can go ahead and now, given the bounty, add the Shadow Inn broker pretty much here next to the bounty board and collect the next set of bounties, which will actually give you even more amazing rewards on the way. Once you're done with all of this, you can now go around the same location and hit up the Yotei trailhead, as this is now going to unlock your first new weapon type, which are the dual katanas. Now, the quest doesn't take too long, and you're now going to have a way to actually deal with speared enemies, as that's going to be the bane of your existence, but we're actually going to make these even stronger with a mythical tail in just a little bit. But remember how at the start of the video our parents mentioned that special shrine with some items at the top of Mount Yotei? Well, actually we're going to go ahead and grab it right now. It's going to be accessible from the base of the mountain here on the side of the map, right where the indicator was already at. So in this case, this is going to involve a lengthier jumping puzzle that's actually really fun and engaging. However, at the end of this, it's going to bring you at the top of the mountain, all the way to this shrine that's going to provide us two very strong charms. So one is going to be Mother's Charm. This is going to buff arrows, increasing their damage, which already started at rank 2 for me and will progressively rank up as you, of course, unlock new songs for your shamisen. So yes, this actually works retroactively, as by this stage I have already unlocked a couple of them. But there's also Father's Charm, which is actually even stronger. This is going to make perfect parries to also heal you, starting with a minor amount. But you can actually upgrade that healing by just completing more sumies all around the map, so it's going to be useful to interact with the side content too. But otherwise, a very strong option to have at this stage. However, don't leave just yet. We have a couple more objectives in the area, so pay attention to this camp over here with these swords nearby. That's going to be a puzzle for a mythical tail in just a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to slide down the slope all the way to the center of the mountain, as we're going to find another one of these altars we can go ahead and interact to unlock another ability. Now, you can go with whichever you want. In my case, I went with some katana upgrades, especially with some of these Yaido attacks. They are very useful at just dealing a ton of damage and staggering enemies quicker. But now that we have all of these upgrades, we are finally ready to tackle our very first mythical tail in Yotei, which is going to be Takezo, the unrivaled mythical tail, the one that actually gives us access to this amazing dual katana ability, basically called the dual slash, that literally works against any type of target. So for this, you just need to interact and defeat any of the disciples at any of the 5 dueling trees. However, the closest to you will be right here on the side of the map, very close to your homestead, so just a bit further west from the lake Shikotsu. In this case, you're going to find this disciple, which you can go ahead and defeat in a one-on-one duel, and at the end of this, you're going to get a new interaction that basically begins that tale for you. And from this point on, all of the other dueling tree locations will now be marked on the map, so you can go ahead and follow them. However, at the end of this duel and every other next duel up until the 5th one, you're now going to also unlock a new charm once you defeated them. So one of the first is going to be Takezo's charm of Unrelenting Warrior. What this basically does is that it lets you deal bonus damage while at low health. Next ones will actually be a bit stronger. For the next one, it's actually really close to the Mount Yotei jumping puzzle we just did, so you can just teleport over there and start it right again for the second duel. If you defeat this is going to give you the charm of Renewed Determination. What this does is it lets you earn an amount of spirit when taking damage from an enemy. For the third one, this is going to be further east from your homestead. It's on the path towards another story mission, and in this case, if you defeat the disciple over there in a one-on-one duel, it's going to give you Takezo's charm of Bracing Victory, where taking down staggered enemies will let you earn an amount of HP. Fourth one is going to be close to the Naikapu waterfalls, in this case a bit further up north from this location, next to a red tree. Again, getting that encounter done will provide you the Takezo's charm of the Stout Heart. This is going to increase the potency of your healing technique by a minor amount, and it's finally going to be one that's also upgradable. Meanwhile, for the fifth and final dueling tree, you're going to find it a bit west from Yabari Lake, a little bit further up north from the areas we've been into, but still not too far off. And in this case, once you defeat that encounter, you're going to get Takezo's charm of Bolt Deflection. Parrying inflicts a minor amount of additional stagger damage against targets. You can even, upgrade this even further by parrying several times in a row on each stage. And once you're done with this encounter, you're also going to get an extra new cinematic where Takezo himself will actually appear and challenge you to a one-on-one confrontation, which is going to bring you here on this side of the map at the coastal dueling tree. In this case, you're going to have a quick sequence where you will duel him, but just like in the case of Tsushima, he will also teach you this technique. And once you are done with that duel, you're going to get Takezo's duel slash unlocked for your dual katanas. And let me tell you, these are absolutely amazing. Now they pretty much work against any type of target. I tested this against enemies with spears, against brutes. It doesn't really matter, and it's also great at sometimes taking even up to 2 enemies with one single ability. Yes, it will cost 2 spirit points, so make sure that you actually are topped up on that, but I found that if you start with assassinations or standoffs, typically you're going to start combat with enough spirit to spam it. Additionally, you can also just pop off a camp, which is going to immediately replenish all of your spirit, as well as your own real howl if you want to also use that in the combat ahead. Now, technically, there's going to be a follow-up to this, which is going to be back at Mount Yotei. So luckily, we do have that teleportation point we can now use at the nearby shrine. In this case, going back at the camp we just talked about before, next to the swords, you're going to notice there's now a clue, which pretty much indicates you just have to equip all of the 5 charms that you got from all of the 5 previous dual tree encounters you had before. So just equip all of the 5 Takezo's charms, rest at the camp, and now you're going to have the true final confrontation with him. Not gonna lie, this is absolutely lethal. It literally gets to one-shot you, so you really have to be good at it, but you are going to get some really sweet rewards at the end of it. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's pretty nice. So give it a try and let me know in the comments if you did manage to defeat this encounter. Now, technically, for this last final unlock, you don't really need this tip since you're going to get it eventually anyway. But if you can, I recommend going for the Odachi first compared to Yari or the Kusarigama, just because Odachi actually works on literally every type of enemy in the game, including speared, not just the brute ones. So in this case, when you have the option to interrogate one of these random encounters, I recommend focusing on the Saito brothers first, as that's going to pretty much give you the Odachi right away. So the interrogation that I got, I'm pretty sure it spawns randomly, but for me it did spawn right here close to Taro's camp, exactly on this side of the map, right as I was making my way towards Taro's camp. It may spawn for you somewhere else, but when you get this screen with the interrogation, I recommend going for the Saito brothers or whenever you have the occasion to do that. So pretty much very close to the start of that quest, you're going to unlock it and you're going to be able to use it for the whole duration of that mission. And let me tell you, it's really strong. Like you can see over here, I'm actually dealing heavy attacks and they deal a great amount of stagger, meaning that no enemy is safe. Brutes, pretty much the least, but I'm also going against other types of sword enemies. I'm also going against speared enemies and whatnot. So as you can see, it doesn't take more than 2 heavy hits to actually bring them to their knees. Furthermore, during that quest, you're also going to unlock another ability for the Odachi, which is basically the triangle effect, the bulwark stance. This lets you pretty much hold down a defensive stance, but you can also unleash it to just break the enemy stance. It's also a focus attack, so it works against yellow attacks as well to disrupt enemies and eventually disarm them too. But it also provides a lot of stagger against any type of enemy. So as you can see, I'm absolutely blasting through them, and it's an amazing option to have. You can of course pick the others if you want to, but this is my preferred way. It literally gave me everything right from the few starting hours. But if you manage to find something else that I haven't covered in a few starting hours, do let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed this video, subbing to the channel helps a ton. Also, don't forget to activate that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.